There are no shortcuts in our work. Our clients have only one shot at getting what they deserve in court, and we're there with them.
It's almost that time, man.
For what?
Briefing.
I didn't see you down in Florida.
No, I didn't do that. That was awesome.
So Ken was there. Who else was there?
I think Khalil's travel coach.
Khalil, yeah, they pulled those guys. Right?
Yeah, he just flew down and I think flew back with him.
Right.
I suggested that because what we were doing, shipping gear and all that, was just probably just cheaper to fly the guy down for the day. And go home.
Yeah.
In focus.
See? Hey, we're not doing the stream today.
We're not doing it?
So no need for Mike?
I'm a little bit tired, so I may be out of focus, so.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
No need for the water spike?
we'll use your wallet.
I don't have a lot of energy. It's almost like after peaking turned out.
I brought some batteries.
Hey, just leave that garbage there. It's good.
I'll get it, sir. If you're that concerned, you should take it.
I said, just leave it there. It's good. I wasn't even reading.
No.
It was all good,
I
man.
like Christmas.
It's all good.
All good.
Pikey?
I'm sure Gloria Allred can get in contact with all these.
This place is a mess. Not mine. It's Eric's.
But it's also one of these incredible allegations. He was like,
CBS.
Not work.
no one saw it.
Walk in the park.
To me, it's the most suspicious of the accusations.
Put a fresh battery in here.
Who knows?
Someone's up when you.
Eric, just your garbage
Right, he's
figure
the
and
one to
shit.
just look at it. Yeah, that is the one.
Tell him
So
up,
then Greensboro,
John,
North
All this.
Carolina.
Get this
Don't
out
worry
of
about it. Don't worry. Are you the janitor?
I am.
All right. Good. You got a promotion. I see.
Yeah, well, you could interpret it that way, yeah.
You tell him, don't take that towel.
I remember he went on and on. He said,
Oh, you good,
I mean,
Karen,
just like a confess. He said
it's
the
the
same
White House
thing, and
briefing
I broke
category
on
camera
his airline. No one's saying anything. But then
Chicken.
look at it.
Just for you.
Pretty sure that was in lovely Greensboro.
Correct.
No string.
So channel 1.
No string.
We don't have a
Yeah, that's true. It was a European flight.
60. We have a correspondent.
How come they go to Texas?
Mayor
Like,
for
Joe, Joe, Joe Barton.
I'm surprised.
Where is that one?
I might check, you can, for which one?
Victor, 1091. You got me? 1111. You good?
Yep.
Testing 1 2. So, but you got that mic too, right?
Perfect.
You got that
Thank you so much. It should be in channel 2 for you. Really wonderful.
Questions on channel one.
Channel 1. Stand by for news. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Thank you. This and to this. Can you clean this? That was thick up.
How do you, I don't know, I mean, think about it, kind of, it's so out there. It's so.
You all right, man?
You have a Sharpie with you?
No.
Tough sort of do.
Here's some people carrying blunts around with them now, so I don't know.
Yeah, and their black radio host is prominent. I just don't know how you're gonna say, well, you know, the guy's way too old, should have retired a long time ago. Hey man, how are you? Oh, I know what show. Oh my god. Is that the best piece of former girlfriend of one Kevin Harrison. Yeah, long ago. She worked at the Dallas Morning News, man. She was a whack job too. She was like Night City editor all the time. No. Yeah, she really fucked with her. She totally lied about a friend of mine. That's good. That's true. Ask her if Conyers hit on her back in the day. She was very attractive. Yeah. Years ago.
Checking 1 2 3 if you want to hit that. Hello, hello, hello. You got the microphone down there.
No.
You hear me, Rodney? You got it? Testing 1 2 3. 1 2 3 4. Microphone mic. Got dial tone. I hear dial tone. Testing 1 2 3. Dial. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Who ran against Conyers?
Enough already. So she,
That's pretty famous. 20, 30 Apparently it's some good career deal for his daughter. That's about it. Life's fairly simple for him. I guess they're probably paying the cover or something like that.
Yeah, he's been a hot mess for a while. No. Didn't he marry a staff member too?
Probably have to pick up her plan.
Healthcare for the family. She's from the school district.
We don't want working even they'll let you continue in them, I think, for
18 months. No, the group rate is not cold.
well, I think a lot of them will let you stay in it.
Right.
So I think they're probably paying
Oh man.
whatever they have to pay to continue.
Probably so. What do you think?
So I think that's what they're doing.
They are relative.
I think
What, yeah, is he gonna give it up, you think? You think he'll resign in the middle of your report?
between the two pensions,
They're doing very well.
whatever else.
Right.
Yeah, no, we fair from that,
No movie camera, we're ready, Marcus.
I was gonna come out. I had a feeling somebody-
I'm sorry, I'm already set up.
Sounds like fun.
Oh, she sold her house down in South Carolina?
Yeah, that they
That was
never.
the thing, you.
What did they get for that? Was he paid for it?
Steve Kornacki, it was 19 years ago, they swapped each other.
Yes.
And then she had to like,
That's
say,
a federally
100,000
paid
in or
sex
something?
policeman, Ken Starr.
60 or something.
Oh, wow.
The idea of a federally paid sex policeman spending millions of dollars to track an unfaithful spouse, at least civil litigation, would have been unthinkable prior to the Starr investigation. Let there be no mistake, it's not acceptable in America to investigate a person's private sex.
Why not breast if you want to be out here?
You're right about that.
You know?
You're right about that.
Exactly.
Hey,
No, it's cheaper just to rent a place than to pay for condo fee and insurance and whatever.
Anyway, well, here's the latest Greg Schiano story. Let me read it to you guys. So, anyway, thanks, man. Where are you staying, by the way?
O'clock.
Nice there.
3 o'clock.
But I,
3 o'clock there.
but you're saying that they just going to like a regular planned community.
You need a white balance too? They're fine?
I love a white
1,
balance.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
May
7, 8, 9,
I
10.
have one, please?
It's a brand new house in like a subdivision.
Subdivision.
Blocks and
Somebody's
blocks.
ranch.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's like, no, didn't look like there were any trees in there.
I was in that kind of.
4-6, perfecto.
Not a
It's
big
4,
house,
6,
but
4,
some
8.
land.
4, 6, 4, 8 on the flat.
Do something like we have here.
You ready, muchacho?
I know.
That's what I, you know, that's just me.
See, I do my own. Now that I.
Things on John's camera gonna be my
Done?
grade.
Yeah.
They don't.
More
If my
focus
fee
for
goes
Khalil?
up any more,
Khalil Habibi?
I'll go with it.
Allah Habibi? Arjun?
It's just, we're at a disadvantage. Either he goes up, you gotta go down.
I'll go down. No, I can't.
Khalil? Check in?
Nah,
you can get wherever you are.
Okay, I got it. Oh, thank you.
That didn't work out too well.
Check, 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 check. Mic check from the seat. Seat. Check, check, check. If you don't mind calling in and having them interrupt me on the robocam, I'd appreciate it.
Hey, man. Hang on a second.
Voice of God, this is John here. I hear you, voice of God, up there on robocam. Okay, good. So I'm just making sure we're good in case we have it hit before the briefing, all right? Thank you, bye-bye. Thanks, Khalil.
You wanna get in? You wanna see pictures on my camera?
Yeah, the other one was hot. And
Who?
yeah, just give him a picture. That's
Who's
all.
that?
That was really in the
Alright.
you know, the people in New York, you know, they probably do their show or whatever, so I
Okay.
look for these things.
No problem.
You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Which was a very unique explanation.
Yeah, that's not true. The RSVP, they sent out the RSVP, and they denied the RSVP.
It was a weird thing to clarification.
Yeah, apparently they did the same thing to AP last week with Christmas tree arrivals.
Top.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
He came.
Billy Gibbons. What was he doing there?
Nice guy. He just hanging out. He came by. He was very friendly. Talking to
He's a
everybody.
little guy, too.
Yeah, I got a picture with him.
I thought he was bigger than what, when I saw him at the White Capitol. They dedicated Vaclav Havel's.
Yeah. I didn't know, I don't have a real appreciation for ZZ Top because I didn't listen to it.
Yeah,
But I'm listening to some now. That guy wasn't there. Jimi Hendrix looked up to him.
He said he's best in
And I'm like, he thinks that's pretty incredible.
Now, Billy Gibbons,
Billy Gibbons.
yeah, their old stuff, like before they got commercial.
Because they do like a lot of jazz and funk.
Old Bolt, they did old, great,
It's a nice picture, right? I didn't even know who he was.
Billy Gibbons,
Yeah.
from Texas. But they, their old stuff is more blues music. And they did it with all three, guitar, bass, and drums, that's it.
Most music comes from blues, rock and roll, all comes out of the black church tradition. If it was not for black gospel, I got you, no problem. If it was not for black gospel, there would be no music. Maybe it would
Would be no
be
music.
not this type of music.
Yeah, but it's interesting, Billy Gibbons, and what happened, Vaclav Havel, they dedicated the statue to Capitol, and they had a little box, cigar box guitar, and he played Vaclav Havel like rock and roll. It was like, it's a little amplifier, wasn't bigger than that box. They played a little bit, a couple riffs, and I said, that's it.
I'm gonna be next to you, man.
Okay, man. Vaclav Havel liked rock and roll.
Because you know, there's a big Czech influence in like Central Texas.
Oh, yeah, there was
That's why Texas barbecue and the sausage. The Czech immigrants came over, Czech and Germans came over. I was back in New York. Why you got Cheyenne, all the breweries around.
Yeah, I know, I've been there as a little Czech, actually, a little Czech town.
Between Dallas and all that.
Yeah, I was there, and I've got Eastern Slovakia background.
Oh, really?
So it's all kind of, Czechs are more German, Western Czechs and Eastern Slavs are more Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Plus, they were in there for a while. And, like I said, Vaclav Havel like rock and roll. So, I got the guitar here if you want. Hold on. Yeah.
Cool.
And it was just sitting up there, and Billy Gibbons, they played a couple riffs.
Oh, that's great.
And they dedicated the Vaclav Havel statue.
Andrew Jackson.
Czechs and Germans going down to Mexico.
Yeah, I was called Mexican polka.
Yeah, that's right.
And they called Zydeco Cajun.
That's right.
Yeah, because when I was growing up in polka, people played accordion.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, where are you from?
I grew up in Massachusetts, but I lived in Austin.
Okay, so you understand that.
I've lived in a lot of places.
Here we go.
Southern California, a lot of places.
Billy Gibbons played that.
Oh, wow.
Here's a little cigar box.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's new.
Yeah, right.
The amplifier is brand new. They took it out of the case, turned it on.
That's cool.
But I had to get a shot of it.
That's great. No, it's a great
And
shot.
I put it on Instagram. That's my only professional social media. Twitter. Yeah, so I do photos. And the thing is, it's,
Let's see, you can get upstairs. Go straight to it.
I didn't want to be bothered.
Yeah, I don't even bother. I was thinking it goes back to my trip. It's great.
But it turns out that, I posted that in the cigar box. This guy from Primitive Acoustics started following me. It's kind of, he'll put in his 2 cents, and that was not just a square.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's conditions that I never communicated with him. But
It's interesting to talk about you because, like I said, I know really, like you say, there's the little check. And then
she ever talk? She talk? See that? Had an interview somewhere. Small stations for summer jobs. I didn't use it. And she didn't give me, she says, here's your favorite hand now. And I had it narrowed down to a few, but I put it in the top. Because it was pure raw. Until they got, I think it was Budweiser and Miller kind of was pretty much modern. Yeah. And then it went big time. But the old grain, but I thought you stay out of trouble. A little bit so.
Can't do that.
Oh, like, there you go. I
See?
told you
I
stay out of
told you.
trouble.
There you go.
Got to list those things. It's all good.
Sorry about that.
No problem, they have enough now.
Nah, we know.
I'm so nervous. Yeah, hey Ryan, it's John in the whitehouse breifing room. Cuts position. Did you see me at the cuts position? Okay, hold on. Yeah, hold on. I had to change something. I just wanted to make sure. How about now? You see me at the cuts position? Okay, beautiful. Okay, I'll call you, have you put me in the PL a little later, all right? Thanks, bud. Our guy in switching knows you. Forgot his name. He said, there's Gary Rosenberg. Shut. Probably switching to your place, yeah?
Probably.
Yeah. Ryan? Ryan?
Orion Powers. He's down, he's like a producer type of thing, it's actually switching. Ryan Powers.
It's called, used to be called QC, now it's called TPM. Call in, just speed guide,
Everybody thought, you know, like we had your boss working for us.
station.
No. Marjorie O'Brien.
Marjorie's at ABC now?
She's been there for like 2 years.
Doing what?
She's like we call it the knack where, you know, she coordinates where the city goes up to New York.
Now,
Remotes.
well, she was a manager for a couple of years at our place.
What she do?
She was a manager, she was an employee, manager, made sure that.
Someone said that Jack Rich, so.
I'm sorry?
Jack Rich or someone said that she hired.
Well, maybe she did.
She's a very nice person.
Oh, yeah.
Really nice.
She did actually together for a long time. Perfect. Dave Basham. You know Dave Basham. He worked in the White House.
Good guy. What did he do?
He used to be a photographer.
What?
He used to be a photographer. But he took the buyout, I think. I'll find a picture of it.
I know everybody when they get out. Black hair? No. How was it?
You guys heard that, right? Mm-hmm. In the room, you didn't hear. Okay. He made a Pocahontas reference.
Yes, I saw that on Twitter. Whoa! Of course he did. Jeff, I saw that on Twitter very quickly. But he was standing there right
Okay. Pretty good corrections, right? It worked out.
You did a great job. Thank you so much, Lee. Yeah, you did.
Good job, Jay.
I'll grab this back here.
So they're probably still waiting to do the darn briefing too.
Yeah.
You guys are waiting to do the briefing, right?
She's a very pleasant person. She has like a 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. shift. Well, you go home and work. The hot, I told her the hottest part of the job is waking up.
See if it throws up to 70.
Which one of the criminals is trying to knock us today?
Yeah, it sounds really, really good, man. Yep, that's a good one. 1952. Can I get that belt pack from you while we're thinking about it?
If you're going to use that for the South Lawn.
I will leave the cube in here in case something else comes up. But the belt pack.
If we do it for the South Lawn, you can do the same thing, put it on the post. Oh, yeah. All right, so you do it for...
You alright? Car, tires, brakes, everything? Alright, man, you going to work? Alright, watch the company you keep. Alright?
489.
Everything alright?
Block 19.
Alright, stay focused, man. Watch the company you keep.
Okay, so it's, hold on. Okay, so it's 489.000. 489? Yeah. And that's the CNN correspondent. Correct. Does that stay in the White House?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. Unless I leave.
Oh, Gary Rosenberg says, the kids didn't know what the hell he was doing. I know.
They're terrible.
Yeah, sure. I know.
And they're like, you weren't given.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes,
Thanks, Jay.
Sure.
Appreciate it, buddy. Don't leave mad. I'm not. Just leave. I'm just leaving.
Hey, Gary, you ready?
Okay, hold on. What block are we talking about?
26. Fox News, Aaron.
Okay, we got 26. Go ahead. Give me the
671.2.
671.2?
Yep.
00. Is that the only one you got?
Yep.
What time is that meeting?
So what are you doing?
What about the
He's
kids?
doing a little police work. He's going to be the RF.
People stepping on each other?
Alright, well, have a good one. I'll see
So
you.
far, these are everyone's frequencies. It's only me and John here has the problem.
John.
Block 25.
You're block 25?
What's the frequency?
But those are all arbitrary. Those are the ones we're I have one, I have my second. Well, I did use it about that.
For the correspondent? Never down here?
I have to use it. But if I start doing that, I'm ready. 653, 652. 000. ground.
Are you block 25? Yeah. Rodney.
See, that's why you
Real close. It's very close.
They could be off 10.
62.0.
Are you assigned that by CNN?
No. That's what we're trying to show.
Because I can tell you the check wouldn't have to work.
Not a problem.
Gary, you need stickers?
I'll be here also. I'll be here also. That's right. The second one is primary.
Just ask him the same question.
Excuse me, pardon me, sir.
Yeah, we'll have to work it out because we may have
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm taking it out. We go out together.
So was that
But I like even numbers. But I like even numbers. You know that. I like even numbers. You know that, right?
Any of these challenges. So it tells you.
I was told Eric told me I was not going to go see it. Right? Things could change, but Eric told me that. He's basically
okay?
I guess I got crawling there. We'll have Ed use Ryan Cole.
Yes, that's right.
The whole slew has gone. Am I okay with you?
It's all about I'm sorry.
Let me ask you this: is my strap in your way? I
this year.
Yours, Rodney,
Thank you, Chris.
You got one, right?
I know that tells you that it is.
I be able to? Got it. Oh, well,
4/7, I come into play.
okay, but you see what the president just said about? Okay, okay, okay. Just want to make sure.
I think I get 4/6 off of that.
I need a couple. 4/8.
No, yes, he did all of them.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
So it's 4/8.
4/8's good enough.
No, I'm just wondering what you got. I try to keep.
Sir? Is that pretty close? Well, wait a minute, how close are you gonna talk about 100?
This is what you want.
We're doing bump.
Yeah, you're gonna talk about 100 degrees.
We got one.
Comfy? Nice?
Yeah. We need to install a couple. We need a couple.
Oh, that was a good picture. Oh, that would be that. See the picture?
I saw him fly in the corner when I had him.
Oh, yeah. Oh. It's gonna come up to us. That's why I just happened to do mine like that.
Well, I know you're doing that. Because our paper is,
They live in Marines here.
yeah, that was kind of.
Just a medal of honor, just a crown.
Actually, no, one of us would. So it's me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he got his wearing a proud. I don't know if this is.
Yeah, Ben is married.
Oh, right.
Yeah, yeah. It's more so, you know, I was thinking, like, just looking at me, and it's like, no, I was just looking at someone behind me. Because you know how sometimes people look at you fast.
Russian. He's down here a lot. French? No, Russian. He's Russian. He's, God, he lives in my neighborhood, so I'm catching the bus. Euro. Oh, yes, because I see him in my neighborhood up there across the street. Maybe he's going to school. I live on Connecticut. Who does your work for? I know his kids go to school. Montessori. So I saw him, I live right in Connecticut, I saw him the other day, I was waiting for a bus across the street. The whitehouse is pretty soon. That's what you use, so you're even Hungarian. He just watches the video. Three guys up there they're Cuban.
Oh, no, it worked out.
Are you, oh, okay. Are you gonna air the Pocahontas stuff? Got it. Okay.
Mullen brand.
The best song on that album is what album was that?
Yeah.
Well, it's in the basement. First you left, you are in that,
I think so.
we ran right away. Oh, no.
I've been listening to that song. What's nice about this album, one
one side is all electric and the other side is.
They were pretty good. They honored Soldier. They honored SWB. They honored Tony Brown.
Tie a little stick like two cowboy hats.
But it was actually good. SWB opened up the show.
Whatever you do, whatever you do.
She's crazy. We just saw her concert. That's just how she was in concert.
Persistence overcomes resistance.
Fantasia coming to the That's the one there in South Bend. I want to go back. Yeah. It's a nice day. It's all in. The whole area is nice. Their projects, but justification. No restaurant there. Yeah, there's only like a pub and one seafood restaurant. So people just walking around and waiting to go to the show. And it's not. In the spring, but they got a great city on pier. Once they completely open, I guess they rush to open their beer.
Hey guys, I might run back in 5 minutes, okay? You're good with Warren?
But I wouldn't say some
Guys, are you good with Warren? Hey, I'm at. Rodney, you haven't talked to me. I want to run back. Hey, are you okay? I'm just going to run back there for 5 minutes. Well, not necessarily getting asked about that power struggle at GFTC, and we're underscoring how the conversations were.
Stand up.
Well within his right to appoint an interim director under the Federal Agencies Act based on Dodd-Frank. So I anticipate you'll want to start to talk about that. But also the high stakes for tax reform. President Trump meeting behind closed doors with members of the Senate Finance Committee today, and it was really all hands on deck as they try to get this passed to final approval. The Senate, they are hoping to bring it sometime this week, and of course the House and Senate will have to amend their two bills. The president pushing for a final passage this year. That's going to be very tough. There's still a lot of standpoints and complicated points.
Hi, there we go. 2207. 3.14. Yeah. That's the name of the band, 2207. 3.14. Well, it's the same number. 2207 is just like what it is. Pi, it's
because it's three, it's an unending number, 3.1. They had a special thing. They were trying to figure out how you figured all that crap.
I was watching, I told you I watched engineering. And
Do you want to?
they were saying that all these
Oh, okay. Oh, everything was like that might be, I mean, I don't know.
Couple people throughout history, several people have said like that.
I'm listening.
George Burns and Constantine had a
I got history channel.
Yes, I hear you.
They talk about they did a special.
Okay. About more?
Like a human body.
I was here.
Yeah, you got it.
What's that? Oh, to squeeze the
Hey, Shep, yeah, Alabama's on everybody's mind, and of course, that's really complicating the White House's top priority before Christmas, which is, of course, tax reform. President Trump promising tax cuts by Christmas, but, this
Alabama, really complicating that. And, before President Trump left on Thanksgiving break, he left the door open to possibly campaigning for the Republican Senate candidate, Roy Moore. Today, there have been multiple reports that the White House says he will not be doing that. He will not be campaigning for him ahead of this December 12th election. And our sources here at the White House tell us that there's simply nothing on his schedule at this time. So that could change, but it certainly appears likely that President Trump is going to continue to do what he was doing over the weekend, which is not actively campaigning for Roy Moore, but instead really pushing voters in Alabama to vote against his opponent, Doug Jones, calling him weak on crime, weak on immigration, even though a lot of the Republican members of the House and Senate would like him to be a bit more forceful in his condemnation of Roy Moore after being accused of molesting young girls down there so many years ago. Jeff? Shep, it's quite a dust-up, quite a story. It's fascinating. Everybody here in Washington, here you have two people, essentially, that could have been showing up for work for the same job at the very same time. You have President Trump appointing his budget director, Mick Mulvaney, to this job on Friday, but the outgoing director of the CFPB, he had appointed his own person to the post, and this outgoing director was appointed to that job by President Obama. So you have a President Obama holdover going against President Trump's appointee, and now that Obama-era holdover, his replacement is suing the Trump administration. And at this hour, right now, you have Senator Elizabeth Warren, who was instrumental in the creation of the CFPB after the 2008 financial crisis. She's going to be sitting down with the person that she believes should be the acting director at the same time that Mick Mulvaney is going to be holding his own press conference just across the street. So really a battle of dueling directors here, and there's going to be a lot of questions about that here at the briefing today, Jeff.
What? Yeah.
Sure thing. Say that again, what you said? Okay, sure. Thanks.
What year was that? They might have, those guys are secure. I think they're okay.
Good afternoon. Hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving and took the opportunity to enjoy some downtime with your friends and family. As you all can see, we're quickly transitioning from Thanksgiving to the Christmas season here at the White House. This morning, the First Lady unveiled this year's decorations, and she personally selected and was involved in every detail. The theme, Time-Honored Traditions, was designed by Mrs. Trump to pay respect to 200 years of holiday traditions at the White House. During the month of December, the White House will host more than 100 open houses and numerous receptions, and more than 25,000 visitors will walk the halls taking part in public tours. Speaking of Christmas, the President is looking forward to the Senate bringing us another step closer to delivering a big, beautiful Christmas present to the American people in the form of massive tax relief. To that end, on Wednesday, the President will travel to St. Charles, Missouri to deliver an important address to the nation on the need for tax cuts and reforms. Unemployment is already at a 17-year low, wages are starting to raise, the stock market continues to hit all-time highs, and optimism is through the roof. Just imagine what's going to be possible when this plan passes. I think it will be a great lead into the Christmas season and something we can all be excited about. And with that, I will take your questions. Jeff.
Sarah, is Director Mulvaney firmly in charge of the Consumer Financial Protection Agency today, or is there still a back and forth between him and Leander English on who's actually the boss?
Director Mulvaney has taken charge of that agency, and he has the full cooperation of the staff, and appeared there this morning, and things went very well on his first day over at CFPB.
How did he handle that power struggle when he arrived there?
I think that the legal outline shows very clearly who is in charge of that agency, and both he and the White House, as well as the general counsel for CFPB, who was appointed by Condrey, said that he has the legal standing to be there and serve as the director, and we all agree with that, and again, feel very confident in moving forward. Cecilia?
Why not just fire Leander English?
Look, she's still the deputy director and has a legal standing in that capacity, but not as the director.
And do you believe, does this White House agree with Mick Mulvaney when he called this agency a joke?
Look, we think that a lot of the past practices under the previous director and under the previous administration were used more to advance political ambitions and not about protecting American consumers, which is what that's supposed to be, and our goal is to make sure we get back to that. Matthew.
Thanks, Sarah. Does the president still accept the authenticity of the Access Hollywood tape that he apologized for during the campaign?
Look, the president addressed this. This was litigated and certainly answered during the election by the overwhelming support for the president and the fact that he's sitting here in the Oval Office today. He's made his position on that clear at that time, as have the American people in his support of him.
So
John
he
Decker.
apologized for it, which would seem to acknowledge its authenticity, and that position hasn't changed?
No, like I just said, the president hasn't changed his position. I think if anything that the president questions, it's the media's reporting on that accuracy. John?
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Just two questions on the CFPB. The first one has to do with whether or not you would like the courts to clear up any confusion as to who is in control of the CFPB. Of course, the lawsuit has been filed. We'd like that case to be, a ruling on that case to be decided very quickly.
Look, of course we're aware that a lawsuit's been filed, but we're also aware that the law is extremely clear and that Director Mulvaney is the acting director here, as has been outlined by the counsel's office, by the Department of Justice, and as I said before, CFPB's own general counsel, which was appointed by Condrey. So I think that everybody is in full agreement that he's the director of this office. Trey? Sorry, John, I'm going to try to jump around.
How do you envision the agency operating under Director Mulvaney?
Much better than it has in the past.
In what way? What are the functions of the agency?
Like I said, we're not going to put political ambitions as the number one priority. We're going to make sure that the consumers are actually being protected, which is what the agency was created for. Trey?
Thanks, Sarah. On the Senate race in Alabama, does President Trump plan to campaign for Roy Moore?
The president is not planning any trip to Alabama at this time, and frankly, his schedule doesn't permit him doing anything between now and Election Day.
Over the weekend, the president weighed in about this race on Twitter. Does the president does he have plans to continue his campaign against the Democrat in Alabama, Doug Jones?
Look, I'm not going to get into a back and forth from the podium. As you know, I've declined that opportunity many times. But I can tell you that the president obviously wants people who support his agenda, and certainly wants people that are looking to make America better, to improve our education system, to grow our economy, to continue to fight against ISIS, continue growing the economy. Those are the president's priorities, and he wants people in place that are going to help and support those priorities. Jonathan.
Sarah, at the event that the president just did with the Navajo code talkers, he referred to Pocahontas being in the Senate. Why did he feel the need to say something that is offensive to many people while honoring the Navajo code talkers, these genuine American
I think
heroes?
what most people find offensive is Senator Warren lying about her heritage to advance her career.
Now, she said it was a racial slur. She said it was a racial slur. What is your response to that?
I think that's a ridiculous response.
Let me
Stephen.
just follow up with that, because the president was speaking at an event to honor members of the greatest generation, people who fought in World War II, who are in their 80s and 90s now. And the moment had many people online asking whether the president lacks decency. What's your response to that notion?
Look, I think the president certainly finds an extreme amount of value and respect for these individuals, which is why he brought them and invited them to come to the White House and spent time with them, recognizing them and honoring them today. So I think he is constantly showing ways to honor those individuals, and he invited them here at the White House today to meet with them and to also remind everybody about what the historic role that they played many years ago. Kristen.
Why is it appropriate for the president to use a racial slur in any context?
I don't believe that it is appropriate for him to make a racial slur or anybody else.
This is a racial slur, so why is it appropriate for him to use
I think,
that?
like I said, I don't think that it is, and I don't think that was certainly not the president's intent.
Does he see
I think,
political
again, like I
value
said, I
in
think the more offensive, the most offensive thing. I'm sorry?
Does he see political value in calling people out racially? Why use that?
Look, I think that Senator Warren was very offensive when she lied about something specifically to advance her career. I don't understand why no one's asking about that question and why that isn't constantly covered.
See, you commit me to on Syria. First, on Friday, the president's call with Erdogan in Turkey, where he seemingly announced to him that it was not that the U.S. is not going to continue arming the Kurds forces fighting ISIS. Huge risks and concerns that the U.S. now seems to be backing away from its previous support of a partner in the fight against ISIS.
No, look, once we started winning the campaign against ISIS, the plan and part of the process is to always wind down support for certain groups. Now that we're continuing to crush the physical caliphate, that we're in a position to stop providing military equipment to certain groups, but that doesn't mean stopping all support of those individual groups. But that was the whole purpose, was to help defeat ISIS. We're making massive progress in that front, and once that was moved forward, that was always been the plan, and that hasn't changed.
And just a second one quickly on Syria. Is it still a policy of the United States that Assad must go, or is there a sort of more of a containment policy emerging out of the White House?
We don't have any changes in our position at this time. Jeff?
Sarah, back to the Access Hollywood tape. You said that he made his position clear at the time. He said, at the time, he said, I said it, I was wrong, I apologize. But you just said the media's reporting of its accuracy. So can I ask again, does the president acknowledge saying that was on the Access Hollywood tape last year?
Look, I said that he'd already addressed it, and that we didn't have any updates to that. I said what he didn't like and what he found troubling were the accounts that are being reported now.
But what counts are being reported now that weren't reported last year? What counts are you talking about?
The ones that are current that he's questioning.
Following up on Steve's question, so what is the official policy on Assad's position? Should he stay or go?
Look, as I just said, we don't have any changes into past statements that we've already made on that front. Nothing new. Blake?
CFPB. Does the White House believe that Leandra English is unqualified for that position?
We believe that Director Mulvaney is the right person at this time to lead that agency, and that's why he's over there.
If you believe that he's the right person, I guess the follow-up then is, what is the White House or what does the president have against Leandra English in that spot?
Look, I'm not saying that we do have anything against her. I'm saying that we want Director Mulvaney to lead this agency, and that's a decision that the president is allowed to make and one that he's made and has legal authority to do so. John?
Thank you, Sarah. 2 questions about personnel. The president's appointment of Governor Brownback for the ambassador-at-large slot dealing with religious liberty has been stalled, and the Senate has yet to confirm him or have a vote on his confirmation. Now, at the same time, the National Security Council staff has a vacant slot that deals with the same issue, religious liberty, that doesn't require Senate confirmation. Is he going to fill that slot on the NSC?
I'm not aware of any specific announcement for that position at this time, but if one happens, we'll certainly make sure you're aware of it.
Now, and the other question is regarding the appointment of Director Mulvaney to a simultaneous presidential appointment. It seems a little odd because this has not been done, according to many accounts, since before World War I.
We're an administration that likes to break new ground, John.
Well, broke it, but the last time was before World War I, when the Secretary of the Treasury was also the first chairman of the Fed. Whose idea was this, or did the president decide to give the dual positions to Director Mulvaney?
Look, I think the president felt like he was the right person to lead this agency, and he made that decision. I don't think there's more to it than that. Fred?
Oh, thank you, sir. One on the CFPB. As far as reforms to the agency, the House has passed the Choice Act. That's still no action on that in the Senate. Is this something, does the administration see this as an opportunity to try to push congressional reforms to the agency?
Look, this is Director Mulvaney's first day. We're going to let him get settled in before we start announcing new policy, but when we do, we'll certainly keep you guys posted. Anita? Sorry, I'm going to try to jump around for save time.
The other day that the issue of the Dreamers would not be in the spending bill. We're reaching the end of the year now, and I'm wondering what the president said that he would take this back up if Congress couldn't act. Negotiations aren't really going anywhere. What does the president propose to do? Does he see that happening in Congress in the next few weeks? Wish for a standalone bill?
Are you talking about specific to, I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
Dreamers?
Oh,
What to do about Dreamers?
Look, we hope that the Democrats aren't going to put our service members abroad at risk by trying to hold the government hostage over partisan politics and attaching that to that. We've laid out what our principles on immigration are. We want to see responsible immigration reform that would include DACA, but that would also include the priorities that we've already previously laid out.
Come up with anything?
Like I just said, we hope that the Democrats are willing to actually make responsible immigration reform. We've laid out what we want, and look, the president's got a meeting with various members tomorrow, and I would imagine that will come up at that time.
With the leaders?
Kristen.
Sarah, what would you say to consumers who are concerned about somebody who once called the agency that he's now ostensibly leading, Mick Mulvaney calling the agency a sick, sad joke? What would you say to consumers who are concerned about somebody like that now ostensibly leading this agency that was designed to protect them?
I think that consumers should be glad that they finally have somebody in there that actually wants to fight for consumers and not fight for their own political ambitions, which we've seen in the previous leadership, and which will be a very different change under Director Mulvaney. David?
Sarah, at this point, Senator Al Franken has allowed that there may be more women coming forward. He doesn't know that there are, but he said there might be more women coming forward. At what point does the president condemn him? How many women does it take? How many accusations does it take before the president says Al Franken should resign? And is he holding back because of some unresolved accusations against himself?
No, I think it's, look, the president's not going to weigh in on every single matter like this. Look, every single day we've got people from the media, from Hollywood, from members of Congress that have allegations brought against them, and we think that this should go through a due process, and that's something that Senator Franken should first be the one to address, and not for the president to weigh in every single time one of these accusations comes up. But there should be a process that we go through, and we want to make sure that that's completed.
You said with the Access Hollywood tape that the people have spoken, the president's president, so that's kind of been litigated. Do you think that
I think the president also addressed it at the time.
Fair enough. Do you think the fact that the president has been elected, that's all been litigated, means that the public believes the women who have accused him in the past of sexual misconduct are wrong?
I think that the president's been very clear that he denies any of those allegations having taken place.
follow up on you saying that the CFPB has not looked out for consumers. Can you point to some specific cases where the CFPB did not act in the best interests of consumers?
Yeah, we have a list of those. I'll be happy to provide them after the briefing today.
Some now?
Yeah, I don't have it right in front of me, but I have read multiple things. I'll be happy to provide it to you after the briefing.
Separately, over the weekend, the president went after CNN International. Today, he called out CNN in a tweet. In the conversations that the president has had with Rupert Murdoch, has he ever brought up CNN or talked about the AT&T Time Warner merger?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I know of.
Sarah.
I'll take one last question. Veronica.
Sarah, thank you. The last time the president met with congressional leaders, he surprised a lot of people making the deal, if you will, with, he came out and said Chuck and Nancy. It seemed to take Republicans by surprise. Should we expect something like that out of tomorrow? Should Republicans feel anxiety or concern leading into tomorrow's meeting that he may, if you will, throw them under the bus, if you will, leading into tomorrow's meeting?
Look, I don't think the president threw anybody under the bus, but if the president, I'm not going to get ahead of that meeting, but if the president can make a deal and any of those Democrats would like to come on board and support tax reform, I think that's something we'd certainly welcome and be happy to celebrate with them after, as my guess is most of the Republican senators would also be excited about that as well. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good afternoon.
Was the protocol office involved in this Native American event where the Native Americans were under Andrew Jackson, under the portrait?
Okay.